Hi guys, welcome back to Latest with Lily, my show where I talk about all things sports, but with an emphasis on football, baseball, and hockey. But today, extra emphasis on football because the NFL playoffs have officially begun. I start by talking a little bit, then bring on my very special guest, talk a little bit more, and end with everyone's favorite segment, Last Minute with, you guessed it, Lily, which is where I list as many fun sports tidbits of the week as I can in just 60 seconds. It is super cool, so you should definitely stick around and watch. All right, let's get right into it. So, before I bring on our guests or do anything like that, and we jump into football, and there will be a lot of football today, I want to talk about a recent signing in baseball, one that is extremely meaningful to me. Former NL MVP Andrew McCutchen has signed a 1-year, $5 million deal to return to his original team, my Pittsburgh Pirates. I'm so happy, guys. McCutchen is one of the best players in franchise history and truly was the face of the franchise for a decade. His legacy in Pittsburgh is clearly remembered, with fans giving him a standing ovation in pretty much every at bat when he returns to PNC Park on other teams. The Pirates have not even been close to competitive since he left, and I really am hoping, with everything in me, that Kutch coming back is the spark we need to advance this team. My best guess is that McCutchen's farewell season is this season, but what a way to go out, playing for the team and playing for the city that you had such an impact on during your early career. All I can say is, welcome home, Kutch, and I'm glad I still kept your jersey after all these years. Can't wait to wear it to a game this summer. I am very happy about this, guys. There is a video of me finding out this news and tearing up while at school, tearing up, crying, same thing. But this was a very emotional signing for me, so I'm very glad we have Kutch back. He was my favorite athlete for a long time. All right, no more sentimental stuff, no more Pittsburgh talk. I'm sorry, guys. I know you love the Pittsburgh talk, but it is officially time to bring on our very special guest. Returning to the show, that's right, you guys know him, you've seen him before. Ladies and gentlemen, Brian Wolfson. Woo! Hi, Brian. What's up?
Not much, Lily. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for joining us tonight.
I thought I was the largest football fan you've ever seen, or the largest Giants fan.
That's true. So before the show, Brian asked me to officially refer to him as, I think he meant the biggest Giants fan he ever knew, but that I ever knew, but he said largest, which was pretty funny. Guess Brian's been hitting the gym recently and just wanted to display that. All right, let's get into it, I guess. We'll start with the big stuff. Let's just cut to the chase. There's no sense in beating around the bush. Let's talk about the Giants. Contrary to my predictions, the Giants beat the Minnesota Vikings last weekend 31-24 and are officially advancing to the divisional round of the playoffs. Woo! Brian, I want to know, as the largest Giants fan I know, what are your thoughts on your beloved Giants after this win? And do you think they really stand a chance next week against the number one seeded Eagles team?
Well, as you can see, I'm repping the Kayvon Thibodeau jersey, the throwback jersey, our esteemed rookie defensive lineman, outside linebacker if you're getting technical. But
Good.
I am incredibly excited for this Giants team. Watching the attitude the players have in the locker room, watching Daniel Jones finally have confidence, watching Kayvon gritty on the Vikings logo after a dominant win, where the whole team, except for Darius Slayton on that crucial drop, played outstanding. And so that was a ton of fun to watch. I love Dable so much, and this team is truly going places. Now, when it comes to the Eagles, I think we have a shot to win. I would say 25%.
Okay, fair.
The Eagles are worse than you might think. They were stumbling into that number one seed. They started out really hot. Maybe it was 14-1 before losing the final two games to drop to 14-3, which is admittedly a pretty good record on the season, but still, Jalen Hurts is knocked up. This Giants defense got pressure against the Vikings and have gotten pressure all season. Dexter Lawrence lined up from the nose tackle position, had 28 pressures on the year. The second best was a mere 9, I believe. Anyway, it was a number below 10. Dexter Lawrence is him. Sexy Dexy. I would do the Sexy Dexy dance if I could, but I don't know if there's room.
Probably not.
Anyway.
Best if you don't.
Yeah. But I think we could beat the Eagles. The offense has looked better than I've ever seen it, maybe in my lifetime, in a very long time at least. Daniel Jones is playing incredibly. Saquon looked like his early season self. The receivers, Isaiah Hodgins, clearly was the best number 18 receiver in that game last week. Justin Jefferson, who? And I think it's an exciting time to be a Giants fan. What can I say?
I completely agree with you, Brian. To your last point, it is a very exciting time to be a Giants fan. I have not seen this much life in the eyes of my friends who are Giants fan since I've known them. So this is a very special time to be alive in New York City. But yeah, just from that win, what really stood out to me was Daniel Jones. I mean, are we ignoring the fact that he had one of the best quarterback performances ever in a playoff football game? And one of the best in just like Daniel Jones's career for sure, but just in playoff football in general. It was absurd. I never would have thought going into the playoffs that, the single best quarterback performance so far from the wild card round would be from Daniel Jones. I really was not assuming that, but I'm pleasantly surprised by him. It was elite. I thought that Jones would look shaky. I thought that he would revert to his past, more turnover-prone self because this was his first playoff game, but he did quite the opposite. He proved me wrong. But in terms of Philly next week, though, I do not share the optimism that you do. I may be making the same mistake twice because I didn't have the Giants to win last week, although probably should have looking back, but hindsight is 2020. But the Eagles, in my opinion, are the worst Pennsylvania football team. No, I'm just kidding. I think they are the most complete team in the league right now. I really, truly believe that. Even more complete than the Chiefs, although it's close. They have stars on both sides of the ball, but Jalen Hurts is that guy. I love Jalen Hurts. I have always been a big Hurts supporter. That's kind of a lie. I really wasn't until like maybe midway through his first season. I saw hope in him when people were doubting him. But no, I love Jalen Hurts. I really do think he's a super talented guy. And his ability to extend plays not only with his arms, but his running ability is a massive threat. The Eagles' running ability in general, they're a team that has built up such a powerful run game that I fear that it's going to be so easy for them to preserve any lead that they have and just drain that clock because they can run the football. For the Giants to even stand a chance here, I think they're going to need some magic. They're going to need a miracle. They're going to need all their defensive guys to come out there and just contain the run and contain the run early and not let this game get out of hand. But I do think they will lose. But I think it could be close. I think it could be competitive. And I hope they prove me wrong.
I don't know. I think if we were playing the Niners, I'd be scared. But exactly, Jalen Hurts is awful.
Bum shoulder. He is not awful, and
he's not good.
Bum shoulder.
He's not good. He's not good.
Better terms.
Daniel Jones is the best quarterback in the NFC, and the Giants are gonna wipe the Eagles up this weekend. Daniel Jones played better. He played more like Josh Allen than Josh Allen did. Josh Allen not very good this year. Daniel Jones is better than Josh Allen this season.
This season, I would say maybe in the one playoff game we saw from Daniel Jones versus like Allen's.
Daniel Jones has the fewest turnovers out of every quarterback this year. Josh Allen
are an overrated turnovers
asking to give the ball away, but he looks shaky. He's holding the ball out like this. Allen.
Yeah, I agree. I don't
into like triple coverage. He's just chucking the ball. He's playing not smart football. Yes. Daniel Jones is methodically moving down the field.
We're talking about Jalen Hurts, not Josh Allen.
I know, but Jalen Hurts is just bad as well. So besides the point.
All right, Brian.
I'm telling you, Daniel Jones is going to carry us to victory. Giants all the way.
You are right. And you know what? They proved me wrong last week. They can prove me wrong again. Crazier things have happened. And I do agree to a point you made earlier. The Eagles, yes, I think they're a fantastic team. I think they're the most complete team. Their record is a little misleading. I don't know if I would look at that team and think 14-3, maybe like 12-5. No, I don't know. But 14-3 seems a bit of, gimme games for the Eagles. I don't know if they're really up to par with that, but like I said, I really do hope the Giants prove me wrong because winning football in New York City, that's fun stuff. That's fun stuff. All right, let's move on from the Giants, although I'm sure that pains you. But let's talk about the playoff game that I think was undeniably the craziest one, or at least had the craziest result, because that first half was not looking like a very interesting playoff game. I'm talking about the Jacksonville Jaguars and the LA Chargers. The Jags beat the Chargers 31-30, which seems like okay, like a reasonable score, good game, until you realize the Jags at one point were down 27-0. Like, just think about that. I know, like, who was it? Tony Dungy and Al Michaels, I think, were calling that game, if I remember correctly. And I don't think they did a very good
They
job.
did an awful job.
Yeah, like I feel like I was more excited, and I'm not a fan of either team than they were. But yeah, as an announcer, I feel like I could have done a better job than them. I don't want to toot my own horn, but we'll see. I do love Al Michaels, though. He's one of my favorite announcers. But yeah, the excitement was lacking for a game like that. That was the third largest playoff comeback in all of NFL history, which is just so insane because I really didn't think the Jags Chargers game was going to produce that crazy a result. Trevor Lawrence, the Jags quarterback, played very poorly in the first half with multiple turnovers, but we got to commend the resilience of that guy because he completely turned it around in the second half and looked absolutely phenomenal. But Brian, the Chargers have Justin Herbert, one of the best quarterbacks in this league. With his talent, how do you think the Chargers managed to blow a lead this big? And do you think the blame rests on head coach Brandon Staley, who's already on the hot seat?
The fact that the Chargers did not completely just wipe out their whole coaching staff after that abysmal performance is stunning. I've been on the Brandon Staley hate train for the longest of anyone I know. I've always despised him. He just doesn't have like any real coaching talent. He completely relies on the fact that the Chargers have one of the most stacked rosters and in theory should be significantly better than they are. But they are so poorly coached. It's unbelievable. The Chargers played like the Atlanta Falcons in the Super Bowl against the Patriots.
That's a good
Atlanta refused to run the ball up 28-3. They refused to let the play clock drop to within 5 seconds. It made no sense. The Chargers did the same thing. They ran the ball like almost 0 times in that whole second half with Austin Eckler, who maybe is a receiving back, but still a quick screen pass here. There's no reason to play football the way they did up 27-0. You're not even playing a team anymore. You're just playing against the clock. You have such a huge advantage.
Good point.
It's inexcusable to lose such games.
Yeah, I think that's right. That's really good. They weren't even playing a team, they were playing the clock. I like that. But yeah, I think I saw this stat where Austin Eckler has never been in a game where he had more than a certain amount. I think 20 touch. It was something like
Not
like
touches. It can't be touches.
it
Maybe
was
carries.
yeah, 20 carries or something like that. And I was like pretty surprised by that. I know he was a receiving back, but I mean, it just goes to show that I don't think he's used to any kind of real demand. But when you have Herbert as your quarterback, I guess, he can pass so well. You don't have to have a super heavy, like running back. You can have a receiving back like that. But yeah, I mean, they didn't play football the way you should play football when you have a lead that big, especially when you're in the playoffs. It was stupid. It stank of a lack of experience in the playoffs, at least in my opinion. But I somewhat disagree with you about the Brandon Staley thing. I have not been on the hate train of him. I guess I've been kind of neutral with him. I've never really loved the guy, never hated him. I thought he was just like a serviceable coach, average, but definitely not. I wouldn't say he's bottom tier. I think, yes, he's not perfect by all means. And he needs the Chargers to win a playoff game next season, or he's for sure gone. I mean, there's not even a question if they don't win a playoff game next year. But I have a feeling they're not moving on from him just yet. I do. Because Staley does have a great defensive mind. Like, he does have that defensive background, and I do think that, he has some wisdom there. And it's not like the Chargers had an abysmal season or got completely blown out in the playoff game. I know this is a different kind of bad, but it wasn't a blowout. Staley has had enough wins this season and wins in his 2 years with the Chargers that I don't think that the Chargers have to fire him just for optics. Because I feel like sometimes teams might believe in a coach, but they feel like they have to fire him just because something happened. This could be a good example of it, but I think it's just not enough where they could keep Staley and it wouldn't be an abysmal decision. But the Chargers they've been plagued by some injuries, especially the loss of star receiver Mike Williams for the playoffs. That
But
was
then
just
how can you defend that? That was all
because
Staley's choice
I
to play the starters
play the
week
starters.
18.
I actually have a take about this. So I think that looking back on it, because they got injured, everyone's like, "That's so stupid. Why would you play your starters when you already have a lock on a playoff spot?" In my opinion, I feel like I've seen so many teams that have either had a first round bye or just a quarterback that took the last week off, then a first round bye, that type of thing. And then they come out looking rusty, looking like they didn't really prepare, or they did prepare, but they just weren't mentally ready for the game. And I think there's some merit to you're in that zone. If you're heating up, you're having a good end of the regular season. It might
That's
be
the
better.
stupidest thing I've ever heard.
Well,
That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. The fact that the Chargers' two best receivers, Mike Williams and Keenan Allen, cannot stay on the field for more than 3 weeks at a time is bad to begin with.
Of course.
So what genius decides to play them in a week where their seeding could not change at all? They were locked into that number 5 seed after the Ravens lost.
Okay,
I
think
that's 0 point in playing the two most injury-prone players on the team.
There's not 0 point in play. As I was saying,
no, they paid the price.
They did pay the price, but like I said before, hindsight is 20/20. If we would have looked back on this and Mike Williams and Keenan Allen would have played and looked fantastic in the games, we would have been okay, no one would have thought anything of him playing their starters.
The Giants won the playoff game the week after they benched their starters.
Yeah, a lot of
and
teams
the Chargers
do that.
Exactly, because that's the right thing to do. The Chargers who played their starters got beat by the 4-13 Denver Broncos, or maybe they're 5-12 for whatever they are. Horrific Denver Broncos. That team, they just lost to the Broncos, and then with their starters, and then you think those same starters should go in injured and beat up? That was ridiculous. That was a momentum killer.
That's fair.
And a half.
Looking back,
ridiculous.
Again, hindsight is 20/20. Obviously, if Staley could have that decision back, he definitely would. I'm just saying, I guess this is more of a devil's advocate take, but I don't think it was a completely stupid decision. I think there was something backing it. I don't think Staley is a professional NFL head coach. I don't think he would have made such a decision if he hadn't consulted his players or thought. But you know what?
Never know. Coaches do wild things.
They do.
You know where Staley needs to go? He needs to go 2 places.
Where?
First, to Thailand on a one-way plane ticket with Cliff Kingsbury.
Ryan.
Why?
Oh, okay, continue.
He needs to be fired.
All right.
Cliff Kingsbury just bought a one-way plane ticket to Thailand.
I'm aware.
Brandon Staley needs to do the same thing.
That's fair.
The second place he has to go.
Kingsbury is terrible. He should have been gone years ago. Okay.
I agree. So is Staley. The second place he needs to go is Chess Club. Chess Club at Hunter teaches you about tactics. That's one of the most integral parts of the game of chess. And for Brandon Staley to use tactics like not running the ball or playing Mike Williams, the most injury-prone receiver in the NFL.
I can't believe you just made a Chess Club reference on my show. Wow. It was Business Club, which has been very absent recently. And now it's Chess Club that keeps making appearances on my show. I think I need to choose guests from more of a variance of clubs, but whatever. Who won the Chess Club raffle today, Brian?
Nehru actually won. I have a duplicate version of the raffle prize. I'm going to run and get it very quickly, and then I'll be right back to show it.
Very quickly, guys. So while we're waiting for Brian to come back with his Chess Club duplicate raffle prize, which I'm not sure how it connects so much to Brandon Staley, but I guess the conversation somehow led us to this. I'll preview
Nehru won a gift of chess shirt that I was given at work over the summer. And it says on the back,
yes,
it is possible to do great things from a small place. And, Brandon Staley could have gone to A, where I worked, to learn, and B, to Chess Club.
Yeah, I think Staley probably would have benefited from that, at least on some level. Maybe it would have, somehow managed to change his mind about playing starters during Week 18. But the world will never know because we're too stuck in the past. We need to look towards the future and talk about this week's upcoming games. What a transit. That was a pretty good transition, I have to admit. All right. So there are so many exciting matchups this week, as you know. So we have Giants, Eagles. That's a good one. Bengals, Bills, Jags, Chiefs, and Niners, Cowboys. Those are some good games. All right. But Brian, I want you to pick one game that you think is going to be the closest, most exciting, most down to the wire game, the one that our viewers cannot miss. Which one is it going to be?
I think it's got to be the Steelers game. Oh wait, they're not in the playoffs, and they didn't even make the playoffs. So sorry, silly
I'm
me.
so
I'm a
glad I'm
little
not
out of it
wearing my
right now.
Steelers face decals right now
I'm a
because
little out of it right now. But other than that, of course, I'm a little biased, so I would say the Giants game. But I believe it's Bills Bengals. Despite my opinions that
pick the same one
Joe
as
Burrow
me.
and Josh Allen are way overrated. They played awfully this season, and the Bengals offense looked horrific these past 2 weeks. The Ravens won the football game. Tyler Huntley's just, I don't even know what to describe him. That was idiotic. And like when you have Gus Edwards or J.K. Dobbins, who already scored a touchdown earlier in that game, it made zero sense, that play call. And for someone of Tyler Huntley's stature to try and jump over the line, like Trevor Lawrence did it from the 1 yard line, for Tyler Huntley to do it from the 2 made zero sense. So the Bengals have limped in, so have the Bills, but on paper, that's the only game I think will be close, given the Giants are going to blow out the Eagles, the Niners will blow out the Cowboys, and the Chiefs will blow out the Jaguars. So maybe not blow out, but I feel like those teams will all handily win. I think this is the only semi-contested game, and of course, there's all the Damar Hamlin significance that's going to make this game interesting to watch.
Of course, I think the Hamlin thing is a big thing for Bills fans. You're right. They have lived into the playoffs here, kind of. That Bengals Ravens game really did surprise me because they were my pick last week for most interesting Super Wildcard Weekend game. But that was only if Lamar was going to play. But even with Lamar not playing, that was a close game, which was a shocker to me. But yeah, I also think that the Bills Bengals is going to be a good one because I'm a little biased with the AFC North, but I feel like it's more exciting to watch the teams that are in your division because you're so much more familiar with their players. You kind of have that intrinsic hatred of them. So I'm really looking forward to root for the Bills, for Hamlin, and obviously against Cincinnati and Joe Burrow. I'm hoping that the Super Bowl loss hangover will, complete its prophecy as it has in for other teams, and that the Bengals will lose this week. But I do think it's going to be a good game. These quarterbacks, although they haven't had, maybe the stellar years that, people consider them to be these like elite tier quarterbacks that are just insane, don't make mistakes, and they haven't been that this year. But they're still incredible players who can make, 1 to 2 throws a game where you look at it and you're like, wow, how did he do that? How did he evade pressure like that? How did he make that throw? And they have Stephon Diggs and Ja'Marr Chase, two of the most electrifying players to watch, in my opinion. I am a big Stephon Diggs supporter, and I can't say I'm a Ja'Marr Chase fan as a Steelers fan, but I do like that guy. He's great. And I just think those connections are going to be super great to watch. I hope we have some, good throws from our quarterbacks to them. So I'm very excited to watch these star players. But yeah, I really think this one's going to end up in a shootout. I know they've kind of been, a little lethargic on offense recently, but I think we're going to see one of those like classic, just AFC, throwing the ball, scoring points, and it's going to be a great, exciting game. Hopefully Buffalo comes out on top.
Au contraire, I would argue that the most exciting matchup of this weekend comes within the terrific trio of Giants receivers: Isaiah Hodgins, Richie James Jr., and Darius Slayton against James Bradbury, Darius Slay, and C.J. Gardner-Johnson, the cornerbacks for the Eagles. I think that's going to be a real tough one for the Eagles secondaries, guarding Hodgins and James, cutting across the middle, Slayton's speed. People hate, but they're a real threat, so be careful.
I think people hate for a good reason, but you know what? You are the largest Giants fan I know, so I'm going to take your word for this one and hope that we have an exciting matchup there. All right. Thank you so much, Brian. It was a pleasure as always. Very exciting. Never know what to expect, and I think that's a good thing. Yeah, I really appreciate you coming on here, and I hope we can bring on Brian again, guys. I think he's a real winner. All right. Thank you so much, Brian.
Bye.
Bye. Wow. Brian was great as always. I feel like we really have some fantastic guests on Latest with Lily, and I appreciate all the support from my friends who are guests. All right, guys. You've waited this long. You've suffered through Brian. No, I'm just kidding. He's the best. But are you ready for last minute with Lily? All right. I'm going to get my 1 minute timer up and get ready for the worst, best jokes you've ever heard. Okay. Go. The GM of the Minnesota Vikings came out with a statement saying that quarterback Kirk Cousins will most likely be back next season. So, Vikings fans, you like that? You know, like the Kirk Cousins thing. The Steelers, in a press conference, have officially committed to struggle once again with offensive creativity next season. Oh, wait, that's not right. They just brought back Matt Canada, but I'm pretty sure that's the same thing. Uncle Steve Cohen wants to add to his Mets family by signing Tommy Pham to a 1-year, $6 million deal. The Jets are interviewing Nathaniel Hackett to possibly be their next offensive coordinator. But if Nathaniel couldn't hack it in Denver, what makes them think he'll do any better in New York? Tom Brady and the Bucs lost to Dallas this weekend. So it looks like Tom Brady left his family to lose to Mitch Trubisky and XFL quarterback Jacoby Brissett and a team that went 1-5 on extra points. That joke was stolen, but I like that one. All right. Thank you guys so much for watching. As always, just thank you so much for joining us tonight. And I hope you come back next week to see who the guest is and what we'll be talking about because we have to review all of the divisional games. I'm sure they'll be great. But again, thank you so much. All right. Bye, guys.